And exhale all the air out of your lungs. And as you're ready, in your own good time, let's push yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. Doesn't it feel good to become present? We forget there's a reason why it feels good. All right, do you have any questions before we move on to our next topic? Any questions or observations? Okay, so our next topic we're going to work on is backbends. Backbends are heart openers. They're energizing poses. Or at least they're supposed to be. But if we're not conscious, instead of opening our heart, we'll blow out our throat, we'll cut the head off from the rest of the body, and we'll create stress, unnecessary tension. So we talk a lot about stress in yoga and in life, but stress is not a bad thing. Without stress, you wouldn't have been able to get up this morning. So you need to have stress. You need to have tension in your life. You just want it to be conscious. So there's not bad stress or good stress. There's conscious stress or unconscious stress. And the unconscious stress isn't even bad. It just leads to unintentional consequences. And so we just want to start to make our stress conscious. If you're going to use your mind, you're going to use it intentionally, right? What good is your mind if it's like always focusing on something that makes you miserable? And so you're just starting to, it's like strengthening a muscle. You're strengthening the ability to focus and just to direct your attention to what you want, just like the sunflower. Don't look, even at the end of the day, the sunflower doesn't droop and die. The sunflower starts turning to where the sun's going to be in the morning. So even when the sun isn't there, the sunflower is focusing on the light. Even when you're depressed or you're sad or you're anxious, you turn to where you think the light's going to be. You don't have any idea. You're just going to guess. This direction feels good. I'm going to look over here. I'm going to keep looking over here. And even if you can't see the light, you're going to keep facing it. Oh, there it is. There's the light. So you keep facing that light. And that's the purpose of doing that. You have to be able, in order to do that, you have to be able to feel. In order to feel, your heart has to be open. If your heart is closed, you can't feel. When you can't feel, you'll be doing what somebody else tells you to do, or what your religion tells you to do, or what your parents told you to do, or what your Facebook page tells you to do, or what society is telling you to do. So you can get all these inputs of what other people want you to do, and it becomes very stressful. What should I do? And you get a lot of conflicting messages as well. So if your heart is open, you can sift through all that. You can filter through all that. You can get the information that you need, but then you can feel the right decision for you, and it won't be a reaction. The master in you responds, the animal in you reacts. So when you can feel what's right, and you're not just doing it to be against something or for something. You're doing it because this is the path of light. And the path of light for you is not just the path of light for you, it's the path of light for everybody. But be careful, because the ego can tell you eating that fourth bar of chocolate is the path of light, and it might not be. It might not be, so you have to feel it. You have to go, oh, you know, that chocolate's really good, but I think I've had enough. So you have to be able to feel, you know, more than the messages that your ego is telling you to keep creating a familiar feeling. And the familiar feeling might be painful. So that's a lot of energetic talk. Physically, that's so we don't do this. I'm outer directed here. I'm leading with my head. So I'm in my cobra pose, but I'm outer directed, and my head is at war with my heart, and my heart is closed, and my shoulders are up, and I have my armor on. Okay? A lot of people will start by setting up to make things more difficult for themselves. So they'll set up their cobra like this. So you see my legs? What do you notice about my legs? They're just hanging out back there. What do you notice about my shoulders? What do you notice about my neck? And you might not be able to tell, but my breath is also getting really shallow too. Also, my elbows are splayed out a little bit. They're splayed out because my shoulders are diving down. So now I'm going to energize my legs. I don't necessarily have to bring them together. It's nice if you want to, but if you don't want to, feel like you're squeezing a block with your ankles and your knees. And then I'm going to bring my forehead on the mat. Oh, that feels good. Now I'm going to move my shoulders away from my ears and my shoulder blades together, and that brings my elbows in. So if I don't do that and the teacher says, bring your elbows in, you're just making things worse, right? So you want to take the fear out, take the armor off first, then you can move. It's a lot easier to move without your armor. My hands are turned out just enough to have the roots of my pointers down. They're not turned way out. They're just turned out just enough to have the roots of my pointers and thumbs, and so that my shoulders can be mobile. You should be able to, you could be able to move your shoulders like this. Then, with my legs active and my seat strong, I'm able to use the strength of my spine to lift my chest, and I don't have to use my arms or try and force myself up. So I use the strength of my spine. It's coming from my seat. Because I'm engaging my seat, though, the glutes are an external hip rotator. So anytime you engage your seat, your knees are going to try and turn out. So you have to counter that. So whenever you're engaging your glutes, especially in a back bend, you have to turn your knees in. That creates an inner and an outer spiral that corkscrews through your body and lengthens your spine. We don't want to blow out. We don't want to over-engage. We want to engage the glutes and turn the knees in and lengthen and lengthen and lengthen and lengthen. Whether we're in cobra or upward dog, we're lengthening, not collapsing, not over-engaging. Okay? And we're leading with the chest. You're leading with the heart. It's better to do a cobra pose like this with your heart open than to be way up here with your shoulders up and your neck kinked. Okay? More isn't necessarily better. How you do something is more important than how much you're doing. Okay? So we take the armor off, we open the heart. The opposite of that is we don't have to blow out the heart either. You have to blow everything out. We're looking for the middle path. So there's sukha, good space, and there's engagement. So you're not blowing out. You combine those two things to move energy up. So different back bends will constantly challenge you. It'll challenge your habits of moving from your periphery. So here's a pretty cool thing to notice as a teacher. If I have my hands out, they might be up a little. If your shoulders are up, you'll be more likely to have your hands wider. And I'm putting my chin on the ground, and I say to come up into locust pose, and I lift up. Do you see where my wrists are? My wrists are above my seat. So I'm lifting my periphery. Once again, I'm moving from my periphery. I'm moving my wrist and my chin, but what's happening with my core? Is my core open? My core is closing. So if I want to open my core, I have to come out of my periphery and lift my actual core. I can't, the periphery will never force the core to open. You have to release and lift the core. You have to stop trying to force with the periphery. That's in every pose. Whenever you try to force with the periphery, the core is going to shut down. If you want to move the core, you have to integrate and bring the periphery in so that you can actually turn the core without overextending. Because as soon as you overextend, it's a frightening state. It's a stressful state. The body's going to shut down. Okay? So in back bends, that means when your arms are out, don't lift your wrists, lift your chest. That's even in Virabhadrasana C. You know, you can be in Virabhadrasana C, or you can be in Virabhadrasana C. Two different feelings. Moving from your periphery creates feelings of stress, anxiety, fear, worry. This moment isn't good enough. I have to get to that moment back there. That moment's where I want to go. And this moment we make an enemy of. And so it creates more stress. We do that The ego never does something without a reason. So the ego will do that to give you a familiar feeling. Why would the ego want to give you stress? Because there is a false belief that if you are prepared for something bad, if you're prepared for stress, you can protect yourself better. So this is great if there's saber-toothed tigers and cobras around. Not so good the other 99.9999% of your life, okay? So we want to find our core and move from our core, even if it means bending our knee and turning and going like this, rather than going like that. Well, this is more, I'm doing more. No, not really. This is way more. This is way more. So you have to start to redefine how you're doing things, why you're doing things, and that changes what you're doing off the mat, changes how you're able to experience things off the mat. Okay? So we're going to work on all of that just with our back bends. So let's start by getting ready for cobra pose. So you're going to lay on your belly and stretch your legs back and let your forehead rest on the mat. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is your elbows are up in the air like grasshopper knees. Go ahead and turn your hands way in. Your elbows will splay out incorrectly. Yep. Now put your chin on the floor and let your heels relax out. Welcome to how 50% of your students will start their cobra pose. And this will feel normal, okay? So now bring your legs closer together, lay your forehead on the mat, move your shoulders away from the mat and turn your hands out and bring your elbows in. Do you feel the difference? Go back and forth a few times so that you can recognize this when your students do it. Go slowly, feel what it's like, feel the energy, feel the emotion, the energy, the breath when you're blowing out, you're kinking, and feel the energy when you're integrated, when you bring your forehead on the mat. Do that one more time. Go slow. Feel the difference. Feel what happens when your legs are totally lax. Feel how you want to breathe when your shoulders are sinking down and your neck is kinked, your hands turned in. So eventually we're going to come back into the correct pose. So you're going to bring your forehead on the mat. You're going to bring your elbows towards each other. Your hands will be turned out a little bit. And then we'll take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Bring your legs together. Either squeeze your legs together or squeeze an imaginary block between your ankles and your knees. Now energize those legs, squeeze your seat, and spin your knees in. And without using your arms, shoulder blades together, you slide your hands back a little more towards your feet. Lift your elbows up. That's it. Lift your chest up. Don't use your arms, though. Don't use your arms. Squeeze your seat. Now, see if you can squeeze your ankles together instead of your heels. And lift your heart for 5. And there's no kinks in your neck for 4. Now with your neck. Now squeeze your shoulder blades together. Yes. And now shoulders down. Now lift your chest up for 3. Oh, it's really good. For 2. And now you just push my finger away from your big toes. Don't kink your neck to do it, though. Good. The laughing helps. And come all the way down. Good. Look to your right and relax. Turn your palms up. Arms at your side, palms up, toes in, heels out. Nice deep inhale and exhale. On the left side of your jaw there's a TM joint, the temporomandibular joint. You can feel those muscles there. Strongest joint in your body. Just relax. Let that muscle melt like butter into a hot pan. Nice deep inhale and nice deep exhale. Let's reach your arms out like wings. So we want to reach your arms out like swept back wings. So not straight out to the side. So there's like aerodynamic wings. So bring your hands a little bit back towards your feet. Now, when you put your palms on the floor, putting your palms on the floor is fine, but what we want to do is we want to have more sensitivity in our shoulders. So put your fingertips on the floor instead of your palms, like you're playing the piano. So your palms will actually come off the floor. Your palms will actually come off the floor, and your fingertips are touching the floor, like you're playing the piano. Your forehead is on the mat, and now squeeze your shoulder blades together. That one thing that you just did is the most significant adjustment that you can make in your back bend. Your forehead is on the mat and your shoulder blades are together. Can you bring your shoulder blades together? Can you bring your forehead on the mat? Is that okay? Yeah. Good, good. And then your fingertips, so your hands are off the ground, your fingertips are on the ground. So even your wrists are off the ground. Very good. Now, don't do anything else, just drop your shoulders to the floor. So this is something that a lot of your students won't be able to get. And put your palms flat when your shoulders are down. This is the way that most of your students will start their locust pose. Their palms will be flat and their shoulders will be rounding down. Put your fingertips on the floor again, so your palms come off the floor, your wrists come off the floor, and bring your shoulder blades together. Now you're over halfway into your back bend already. This is called ease. It's called grace. You're helping yourself. Bring your legs together or energize them like you're squeezing a block. And then without using your arms, you're just going to lift your chest up to lift your head and really squeeze your seat and really engage your thighs and point your toes. Good. And now we're going to lift our thumbs up and lift our pointers up. Turn your hands out. Turn your hands out. Just your little fingertips on the ground. Little fingertips stay on the ground. Turn your palms out. And imagine I have a fingerprint on the end of your big toes and the crown of your head. Push my fingerprints apart for 5. Squeeze your legs together for 4. Point your toes for 3. Can you spin your knees in, Sandra? Yep. And then bring your legs closer. There you go. For 2, lift your legs. If you want, lift your legs and your chest. Now you can come down slowly. Come all the way down. Very nice back bends. Everybody look to the left and relax. Turn your palms up. Let your toes come in and your heels go out and let go. Nice, long, deep inhale. And nice, long, deep exhale. Bring your forehead back on the mat. Place your palms into your thighs like you're a spear. Notice that your elbows will go into that indentation when your ribs are. Press your palms into your thighs. Your elbows are kind of where that hourglass indentation is, where your ribs are. Let your elbows be straight. Now, forehead on the mat, bring your legs together like you have one leg and point your toes. Now, pause here. Most of you have your shoulders rounding, so bring your shoulder blades together. And then lengthen your fingers a little closer to your ankles because you can. Spin your knees in and lift your straight legs a little bit. It's more important that your legs are straight than high. So squeeze those knees together, straighten those knees, Sarah. Now squeeze your shoulder blades together, way together, Magdalena. And then stretch your arms, your wrists straighter now, stretch back. Keep your hands at the side though. And then lift your chest up. Don't lift your wrists up too high. Keep your wrists down. Press your palms into your thighs like you're a spear. Look at the floor. Keep the back of your neck long. If you had a necklace, I could see the necklace in the back of your neck. Lift your legs up. On your inhale, move your arms and legs apart a little bit or a lot. It's up to you, but don't let your wrists be above your seat. Keep your wrists below your seat so you can lift your chest. Exhale, streamline it. Bring your legs together and bring your palms back into your thighs. Do this a couple more times like you're making an air angel, but keep your hands below your seat. When you reach your arms out, turn your palms down. And then when you reach your arms back, press your palms in. One more time. Now we're going to become like that spear. Squeeze your seat and spin your knees in and lift your heart. Good. Now don't look too far forward or you'll kink your neck. So do go ahead and look way forward to the front wall. Feel how your neck kinks? Your shoulders are also starting to come down. Now look at the ground and bring your shoulder blades together and lift your chest instead of your chin. Now keep looking right where you are. Just bend your knees. Somewhere back there are 2 feet. Go ahead and take hold of your 2 feet. And then you're going to just lift your knees an inch and kick your shins back. Don't overdo it here. It's just gentle. This is bow pose. Don't let the knees splay out because you'll blow your energy out. So your knees aren't going to touch, but just bring your knees towards each other like you're squeezing a block. And then you lift your chest. Your heart is the point of the arrow in this bow for 5. Tuck your chin a little bit more. 4, a little bit more. So this is what you were doing when you were sitting too. Now 3, now tuck your chin and bring your chin into your ears. There. Now fill in here and lift your, and lift your chest up. Kick for 2, that's good. And then 1, come all the way down. Look to your right, relax, toes in, heels out, palms up. Nice deep inhale. And nice deep exhale. If you try to force the heart to open, the heart will close. Yeah. Good, let's come up to sitting. So we're always moving with the heart first. In order to move with the heart, we have to open the heart. So we drop the shoulders, we bring the shoulder blades together, and then we're lifting the heart to lift the head. But we have to be present first. So we have to have our pelvic floor engaged, our seat engaged, our legs engaged. We have to feel grounded so that the gut becomes integrated. That's the center of presence. Then we can feel what's present. If your legs aren't engaged, if you're losing your belly, or if you're just lax in the glutes, then you're not going to be present and your heart's not going to open. This is the center of presence. This is the center of feeling. So you become present first, then you can feel what's here, which might be different than what your mind is telling you or what's familiar. And then you open your heart and you keep Uddiyana Bandha, you keep that pelvic floor engaged, you keep your seat strong, you keep your legs strong, and then you're able to lift and lengthen. And then you can become wise. So you can be present, you can feel, and then you can actually have some wisdom, some intelligence, making sense of the situation. So all three centers of intelligence are working together to make sense of yourself in this world. Okay? Any questions about, we're going to practice it now together, but any questions about any of those back bends or the experience you just had? Is anything not clear, or do you want some clarification or a demonstration of anything? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and partner up again. So go ahead and find a partner, maybe someone you haven't worked with, but if that doesn't work out, that's fine. Decide who wants to be the student first. And the student is going to lay on their belly on the mat. Okay. Yeah, why don't one of you work over here with a person, and one of you is going to float. Okay. So laying on your mat, teacher, you're going to kind of hang out by the student there. And so one, two, and two, you two can pair up. Well, actually, you were fine, right? Because we're gonna. This is fine because you're not gonna be able to do a lot of this. Okay, so just go back to before, so you don't have to float. You can work together. Sorry about that. Okay, so go ahead and teacher, kind of crouch or sit by your student. Student, go ahead and put your hands beside your chest like you're going to do cobra pose. And then, student, go ahead and put your chin on the mat. And let your elbows splay out, turn your hands in. And teacher, go ahead and touch the back of their neck. Feel the back of their neck. So ask if you can touch first. And then feel the back of their neck. All right? Now keep your finger there. Keep your finger there. Student, bring your forehead on the mat and bring your elbows in and turn your hands out. Yeah, so you want your elbows up in the air like grasshopper knees. So bring your hands more towards your hips. Yep. Okay, so now go back and forth very slowly so the teacher can feel that. So keep your finger there, teacher, right at the base of their skull, below the base of their skull. And student, go back and forth here a couple times. And teacher, see if you can feel the difference. Now, the next time your forehead is on the mat and the elbows are in, teacher, take your hand to the space between their shoulder blades and just put your fingerprints there between their shoulder blades. Okay? So now, student, do the same thing. Put your chin on the mat and turn your hands in and let your elbows splay out. Turn your hands in too to help. Yep, to make it realistic. So feel that. And now go back again to your forehead on the mat, your elbows in, your hands turned out. Go slowly so the teacher can feel. Can you feel that? Can you begin to get a sense of what an energy leak and an energy lock is, an energy blowout, and an energy constriction, and an energy knot is? Good. Now bring your elbows in and have your hands turned out and bring your forehead on the mat. Teachers, go ahead and stand up and stand near their feet. Okay, so you're going to stand near their feet and you're just going to watch. Students, let your heels splay out and totally relax your legs. Good. then turn your elbows in. Yeah, turn your hands out a little bit. Totally relax your legs. Don't use your legs or your seat at all. And lift your chest up. Okay? Take a couple breaths here. Totally relaxed legs, totally soft seat. Teachers, pinch their seat if it's soft. See if it's soft. Don't do that. That was a test. That was a test. That's inappropriate. Do not do that. I was joking. Some of you are actually going to do it. Don't do it. Don't do that. Good. Okay. Now, so did you notice what happened? Now go ahead and bring your forehead on the mat. Squeeze your legs together, students. Strong legs. Engage your seat and spin your knees in. And now, shoulders away from the mat, lift your chest up. Do you notice the difference? Good. Now, teachers, go ahead and stand. Really do this, but ask if you can do this, if it's okay with them. Students, come back down with your forehead on the mat, your shoulders away from the mat. Go ahead and step the balls of your feet onto their upper arches near their big toe. Ask if it's okay if you do that. And you're just going to put a little bit of your weight on their upper arches. So not on their toes, but more up towards their heels, so they're on their arches a little bit. And now you're going to just press down. Ask if that's too much, but press down to a point where it feels okay. Now, students, you're going to energize your legs, and without using your arms, you're going to lift up again. Shoulder blades together, lift up again. Don't use your arms, and make your body as long as you can, and squeeze your seat and spin your knees in, and see how high you can lift without using your arms. That's why it's so important to have your legs engaged. Now, stay here, but totally relax your legs. Watch what happens. Totally relax. Did you see also how your chin pops out? Yeah. So that's the periphery then tries to do it. When you don't have any core power, the periphery just tries to take over and do it. Good. Go ahead and come down and we'll switch. So the student's going to be the teacher's going to be the student. So this is not just in these back bends. This is in Warrior A. It's in Utkatasana. It's in all of our poses where our neck might kink, okay? So student, go ahead and put your hands on the mat, elbows up, turn your hands in, elbows go out, and put your chin on the floor. Yep, and then teachers, put your fingerprint on the back of your neck so you can feel it, so your body can feel it too. Now keep your fingerprints there. Students, slowly bring your forehead on the mat and bring your elbows in, turn your hands out. Keep your fingerprint on the back of their neck so you can feel it. Do this a couple more times. Go slowly. Do this a couple more times, just so that the teacher can feel it. Also, notice how this affects your emotions and your breathing and your energy. Can you notice that, students? Do it one more time, back and forth. You would never pick this, right, with your chin in. So every time we find ourselves doing this, we got it unconscious. We're not present. So the next time your forehead is on the mat, let's keep it there. So forehead is on the mat. Turn your hand out, right hand out. Just there you go. Shoulders away from the mat, forehead on the mat. Now, teachers, put your fingerprints in between their shoulder blades. Okay, and feel between their shoulder blades. Students, elbows out, hands turn in, chin on the mat. Go slow. Feel what happens between their shoulder blades there. Yep. And then bring your elbows in, forehead on the mat, turn your hands out. Feel what happens between their shoulder blades there. Do that a couple more times so the teacher can feel what's happening. You feel the knot coming up? That's a grunty. In yoga, that's called a grunty. It's a huge knot behind the heart. This is also, so it's obviously it's behind the heart, really important, but it's also where the thymus gland is, the master gland of the immune system. If this area is stressed or blown out or locked up, it affects how your immune system functions because you're creating incredible stress around this gland. Bring your forehead down onto the mat now. Bring your elbows in and turn your hands out. Good. And then energize your legs, stretch your legs back, and you're going to lift your chest without using your arms. Come into a nice cobra pose, keeping the back of your neck long. Teacher, put your fingerprint, don't use your arms though, Sarah. Put your fingerprint on the crown of their head and see if they can lengthen their fingertip without lifting their chin. So see if they can push into your finger without lifting their chin by strengthening their legs in their seat. Strengthening their legs in their seat. Very good. You might even notice their shoulders coming away from their ears. Now, students, keep doing this. Keep doing what you're doing. Teachers, keep your finger there. You're going to feel something really cool. Now, students, totally relax your legs. Did you feel it? Did you feel how the energy stopped flowing? Now, energize the legs. Now, energize the legs. That's like closing a circuit. Good. Coming all the way down. Go ahead and stand at the back of them. Students, stay on your belly. So staying on your belly, make sure your hands are turned out just a little bit so the roots of the pointers are down. Okay. Good. And now, students, once again, let your hands turn in, your elbows go out, and put your chin on the mat, and let your legs just release. And just so you can see from the back, come up into your cobra pose from here. Come up just a little bit. Don't hurt yourself. Good. Now, come all the way back down. Bring your forehead on the mat. Turn your hands out. Bring your elbows in. Move your shoulders away from the floor and away from your ears. Go ahead and step on the upper arch of their foot towards their toes. Ask if it's okay first. And you're going to step with the ball of your foot, not with your heel. Yeah. Now, students, you're going to energize into those feet like you're going to try and push them back and up, but keep your knees and seat strong and spin your knees in and then lift your chest without using your arms. Lift your chest up without using your arms. And then with your back, with your neck long, see how much you can engage your seat to lift your chest. How high can you lift your chest? Just using the strength of your back. Good. Now, you're going to totally relax your legs. Now, engage your seat and spin your knees in and lengthen. Very good. Now, keep everything the same. Just totally relax your legs. That's why we engage the legs in all of our poses. That's why we scrub the heels in. That's why we get our pelvic floor. So that so the energy can flow instead of collapsing or stopping or blowing out. Come all the way down. And then come into child's pose. So teachers, if they're in child's pose and their seat is on their heels already, you can ask if you can give them a little pressure. If they say yes, turn your hands out, put your hands on each side of their sacrum and just gently press down like a cat. If their seat is off of their heels, don't do this. Okay? Don't go up too high with your hands because you'll press into their kidneys. So keep your hands like around the waistband or a little lower. Yeah. Good. And you can put a little bit of weight. So if their seat's on their heels, you can actually put quite a little bit more weight. You can ask them how it feels, but you can put a lot of weight there. All right, go ahead and come up onto your hands and knees. We'll switch. Go back to the first student's mat, and you're going to do the same thing for them. So come into child's pose. So the reason if their seat is way off of their heels, you don't want to do it because there's too much compression already in their knees or their ankles, so you don't want to force it. But if their seat is on their heels, then you can turn your hands out, and right around the waistband or a little lower, you press side to side. Be careful not to. If it's not on the heels, you can just do it gently, just a little bit. So put your hands right there, lower. That's it. And then bring your arms further forward and a little wider, and then relax. That's it. So you just want to be careful not. So it'd be just more gentle. Yeah. Good. And then go ahead and come back up and have a seat. Come back to your mat.
And that's okay.
So we are playing with the flow of energy. Are you starting to get a sense of how energy is flowing through the body? And when your legs are engaged, how much you're grounded. So even if you're upside down, even if you're in headstand, when your legs are engaged, your body is going to feel safe. Because when your legs are engaged and your glutes are engaged, your body is programmed to feel grounded. So if you're in headstand and your legs are engaged and your seat's engaged and you're lengthening, you're actually going to feel lighter on your head than if you're just kind of letting your legs collapse and release in headstand, and more weight's going to go right into your neck. Okay, so legs are strong, seats engaged, heart is open, shoulders will come away from your ears. That is the basis of your back bend. When you're laying on the ground in a prone back bend, the ground is able to keep you from blowing your ribs out. But when we're doing other back bends, a standing back bend or dancer, for example, there might be a tendency to blow out the ribs and kink the neck and kink the back of the ribs. So instead of, that's the same thing as being like this on your mat. So we want a lumbar curve, but we don't want a lumbar blowout. Okay. Remember, there's sukha, good space, and stiram. The stiram is going up. So now I'm taller. Now I'm shorter. Yoga actually will make you taller. I had a student, he was coming to class and he was in like 49 years old, and he went to his doctor for his physical and he was a ½ inch taller since he started doing yoga. So he's had a little growth spurt. But what it really is that we take all of our misalignments and we start to direct the energy up instead of a lot of different directions. And so we get more efficient in our posture, more efficient in the way that we move energy in our body. So we don't want an energy blowout, we want an energy integration and lifting up. Just because you have a lumbar curve doesn't mean that a lumbar blowout is better. So you get the lumbar curve, but then you draw in. This is where a lot of students will cue, even in back bends, to cue a tucked tail. A tucked tail is an overcorrection. So it might lead temporarily to the correction that you want. A lot of people will say it in Warrior B. If you're like blowing out, they'll say tuck your tail, and it'll lead to a little bit different, a better alignment. But ultimately, people will start to tuck their tail and do this and then do this. And so they'll go in the complete opposite direction than they were before. The end result is the same. There's no movement of energy and prana up and down through the body. So tailbone back, a more accurate way to say it is bring your tail back and then draw your ribs in. So you still have the back bend, but you're also supporting the inside of the back bend with the front core muscles in your body. Okay? That's the same thing in our standing back bend. Instead of pushing out, you're drawing in and pushing up. So there's a difference between pushing out and collapsing and pushing up. Really strong glutes, strong legs. I'm grounded. I'm totally not grounded. I've lost my glutes, my ribs are blowing out, and I'm kinking my lumbar thoracic junction. I'm pinching that one vertebra. So my back bend consists of just pinching one vertebra. My back bend here consists of moving the back bend through my whole spine. Same thing in an asymmetrical back bend dancer pose. My back bend here consists of blowing out in one point right in my back. And because I'm doing that, my chin's going to lift. My back bend here, if I can bring my knee back, bend my side knee slightly, lift my chest up, my back bend here is my whole spine taking the back bend, not kinking and blowing out. Okay? If you kink and blow out and then kick harder, what are you doing? You're just making your kinks, your blowouts, and your compressions stronger. So instead of doing that, it's better to come up, which the ego won't like. Well, I should be down there. No, this is much better than this. It's much better. So we're drawing in and moving energy up. Stiram, sukham, engagement, release, engagement, release. And you play back and forth between those two until you find your breath. You start to move into pranayama. And then you start to become aware of who you are in the pose. You come out of the conflict in between the poses. Let's do a standing back bend. So come to the front of your mat. We'll stand in Tadasana. With your big toes touching, we're going to scrub the heels isometrically in. And it's just gentle. You're not trying to like wear your mat out. You're just going to gently bring your heels towards each other. Not your ankles, but just gently your heels towards each other until you feel your seat engaged. Your tail is back and your chest is up. Imagine there's a finger on the crown of your head. push that finger up, and then you look straight forward. Put your hands on your seat. Notice if you put your hands on your back. Most of your students will put their hands on their back and they'll have the heels of the palms and the kidneys. Go ahead and do that just so you can know what most of your students will do. And now push forward with your hands. Do you see what your students will do? They're going to kink their back in that habitual place. They're going to blow out. And then they're going to come into their back bend from that blowout. Can you feel how if you go into your back bend, it's going to be mostly leading with your chin now? So instead, bring your hands down to your seat like your hands were in your jean pockets. And you're gonna, instead of pushing your hips forward, which would be another blowout, so go ahead and do that. Just let your hips pop forward. Can you feel with your fingers how lax your seat is? You'll totally lose your glutes. You also just jammed your ilium bones into your sacrum and you created a traffic jam at the bottom of your spine because your sacrum is supposed to be able to nutate and glide against the ilium bones. But because you're jamming the hips forward, the ilium bones pinch in and they lock the sacrum in place. So now it's like your spine is sunk in concrete. And when you go back, everything's going to be a traffic jam and all your intervertebral discs are going to get pinched instead of nicely compressed. So instead of doing that, instead of pushing your hips forward, we're going to keep our seat back. We're going to squeeze our seat, scrub our heels in, squeeze your seat, and push your seat back into your hands. And push your hands into your seat. And you should feel a really firm, strong seat now, strong glutes. Now push your glutes down just a little bit, draw your navel in. And keep your navel in and keep squeezing the seat, push the seat back into your hands, and lift your chest up, but keep looking forward. Don't lift your head up. So lift your chest up. Draw your ribs in and lift your chest up. Push your seat back into your hands and lift your chest up. And draw your ribs in and push your chest up, tail to your heels, ribs in, push your chest up. Good. And then breathe here for 5. Lift your chest up now. Find your back bend. 4, but push your seat back into your hands to find your back bend. 3, spin your knees in. 2, and 1. Coming back up. Good. Bring your arms down. Take a nice deep breath. Be in Tadasana. Inhale and exhale. Turn your feet out a little bit. Bring the heels of your palms to your kidneys. Pop your ribs forward. And then lead with your chin. Feel this back bend. Look straight forward. Bring your big toes together. Scrub your heels in. Bring your hands to your seat. Push your seat down. Draw your navel in. Squeeze your seat. Push your seat back into your hands. Lift your chest up. Feel this back bend. Push your seat back into your hands into your seat. Do you feel the difference? Coming back to standing. Stand in Tadasana. Nice deep inhale and exhale. Externally rotate your right hand, the inside of your right elbow, and open your right shoulder, shoulder down. Pick up the inside of your right foot or your ankle if you can. If you can't, it's okay to grab the outside. Just keep working on bringing your right shoulder blade on your back. So it's really important here to be able to bring your lifted bent knee behind your standing knee. That means you got to bend your standing knee slightly and bring that lifted knee behind without leaning forward. Can you do that? Can you bring your right knee back without moving your upper body at all? Take your left palm to your ribs, your belly, draw that in, and bring that right knee back and look straight forward with your heart in your eyes. If you can do that, then you can lean forward just a third of the way, tiny little bend in your knee, standing knee, big bend in your upper knee, obviously. And then let the right side of your chest go back, start to kick. And then reach your left arm forward and up and reach. Turn your palm in and then breathe. If your knee can't go behind you, just draw your ribs in and lift your chest up. Now, don't go down any deeper. Instead, draw your navel in and lift your heart up higher. But don't kink your neck, though. So drop your chin and lift your chest. Good. And now lengthen through the ring fingertip for 3. And you're reaching from your hip. Little tiny bend in your standing knee. For 2. Push out. Pull your shoulder away from your ear. Now straighten your elbow and lift your chest. That's it. And then come all the way back up. Right foot down. Find your Tadasana. Nice deep inhale and exhale. Turn your left hand out. Open the inside of your left elbow out. Open up the front of your left shoulder and drop your shoulder down. Pick up the inside of your left foot or your ankle. Grab the outside if you need to, but still bring that left shoulder blade on your back as much as you can. Bend your standing knee a little bit. Take your right palm to your ribs. See if you can bring your left knee back and still lift your chest up. If you can't do that, that's great. Just work where you are. Draw your ribs and work on lifting your chest up. If your knee can go back, then you lean forward just a third of the way. And then you start to kick and let the left side of your chest go back. Turn the inside of your left elbow up to the ceiling. Good. Let's come back to standing. I want to show you a very common misalignment. So stand in Tadasana. So can you, we're going to go ahead and have you come into dancer pose. So come right into your dancer pose. Good. And then pause right there. So can anybody spot what the misalignment is? It's really common. No. Yeah, the arm. Yep. So what you were doing is you grab the inside of your foot like that.
Oh.
And when you do that, do you see how your shoulders going forward?
Yes.
So you want to grab the inside of your foot like that.
Oh. Ha.
So when, yeah. So yeah, and so that's like really hard. And it's also going to kind of shred your rotator cuff.
Okay.
So people that do that you might be a little used to doing this. So you're going to have to lift up. That's why I say externally rotate, externally rotate, externally rotate, drop your shoulder down. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So it's kind of hard to spot as a teacher because the hand is turned in, right? But you have to look up at the shoulder. The shoulder's going to be doing this funky chicken move right here. And so you have to, this isn't an open heart, right? So this is just an armored heart. And then also, if you do that, if you turn your palm back and then turn your palm out with your thumb back and feel the front of your rotator cuff, you can feel a little tender area there. That's the part that's going to start to really get worn out, like right in the front of your shoulder. So keep your finger there and externally rotate, externally rotate, externally rotate, externally rotate, externally rotate, and drop your shoulder down. Now your arm's in the shoulder socket, and this part of your anterior deltoid can open, and your heart can get the signal that everything is okay. Here, your heart's getting the signal, whoa, there's danger here, be careful. And your core is gonna lock up. It's all unconscious because you're in the posture of fight or flight. Okay, so you externally rotate, palm out, then you pick up your knee. So go ahead and pick up that left knee. Very good, yeah. And then take your right palm to your ribs, and you'll draw your ribs in, and then bend your standing knee just a little bit. And you want to be able to bring, so like a pendulum, just see if you can swing your knee back and forth without moving your upper body. With your standing knee just slightly bent. And if you can bring your knee back behind, you're ready to go further. If your student can't do that, then all they're going to do is just work on bringing that knee down and lifting up with the ribs in and relaxing the shoulders. If you can do that, lean forward just a third of the way and then start to kick. Let the left side of your chest go back. And then reach with your right arm. And then a little adjustment here is turn the inside of your left elbow up to the ceiling. So that back arm, yep. And now push your hand out into your foot and push your foot into your hand and then kick your leg back. And then lift your chest to lift your arm. Good. And you can open up your throat, Allison. You can lift up a little. Yeah, very nice. For 3, 2, and slowly come up and then come back into Tadasana. Very good. And have a seat for a moment. So asymmetrical poses work right-left imbalances. Symmetrical poses work front-back imbalances. Okay? So all that work on the floor, that's a symmetrical back bend. So we want to work the right and left equally. Poses like dancer pose are asymmetrical, so we can start to work. We bend our standing knee so that we can adjust our hips in the pose. Remember when we were talking about twists and how twists can be just blowing your uneven hips out and just kind of turning and tweaking the sacrum and the pelvis rather than turning the actual chest. So same thing here. You want to have equal hips and you want to kick back and lift from your chest. So Uddiyana Bandha and Mula Bandha means the floor of the perineum is lifting, the navel point is in, the heart lifts. And then you push your hand out into your foot and you push your foot into your hand. That protects the rotator cuff. So it gets the arm, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, I'm gonna try it. Yeah, so it integrates. Instead of that little bump, it integrates it. Also, the right side of whatever arm you're reaching back with, that side of your chest is going back. So in other words, you're not facing forward with your chest. you're facing forward with your hips, but not your chest. Your chest is actually going back. So it's a little bit of a twist. But to protect the rotator cuff, put the hand out into the foot and push the foot into the hand. That will get the arm in the shoulder socket. Okay, so you want to make sure that that bent knee can go behind your standing knee before you come into the pose. Also, the extended arm, you want to have your shoulder away from your ear. So your shoulder comes down, and then you'll be able to lift your core. Just like when you're in your back bend, right? If your hands are up too high, you can't come up because you're blowing out and you're leading from the periphery. If your hands come down, you can lift the core. Same thing here. If you're coming forward and your shoulder's up, your core is going to lock up. And if your core locks up, the head's going to try and do it. Okay? If your arm is integrated, your core can move instead of just your chin. This is force. This is power. Okay? So we want to find power. Force requires an enemy, requires restriction, resistance, friction. Power works with things. Force requires you to work against things. Okay? And so we always want to find power in our poses and not force. So we're gonna partner up, and you're gonna do a standing back bend, and you're gonna make sure that their hands are placed correctly on the seat, and that the seat is engaged and pushing back, not forward, because we all felt what happened when you popped your hips forward, right? That means you're also looking at the feet. If the feet are turned out, we're going to be more likely to blow the hips forward and have soft glutes, which means we won't have a foundation, which means we won't feel grounded, which means that we'll start to get stressed and go out of alignment. Okay, so big toes touch, seat engaged. Seat goes down, the navel will come in a little bit, and then we'll lift up. And we're not lifting up by pushing forward, we're lifting up by pushing back and lifting up and lifting up. And you may not be in as much of a back bend as your ego thought you were before, but you're actually in much more of a core activated back bend that's stretching through your whole spine and not just kinking into one little part of your spine. Okay? So we'll do our standing back bend like that. Just teach each other that standing back bend. Be aware of kinking the neck, keep the chin in. Even popping the chin out is going to start to create strain. So you're keeping the chin in and learning to lift the chest instead of the chin. Find a partner, lead them through a standing back bend. Navel in, chest up. Yep. And so turn now, you can stop demonstrating and then you look. It's because make sure, because she was starting to push forward. So have her push back. Yeah. You can put your hand right here and have her fill in that area. No, not Allison. Yeah. No, you'll do it. I thought you were going to do it for Allison. No, do it for her. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
push your seat back. And then draw your ribs in. And then keep your seat back and lift your chest up. So you're learning to lift your chest instead of blowing out or blowing out. So it's lift up. Now you push your chest up, so your sternum becomes like a launch pad.
Okay.
So if your ribs aren't blowing out, your ribs come in, your chest can actually come up instead of your ribs blowing out.
And then where are you bending? I guess.
You're bending your whole spine, even up into your thoracic spine.
So it's almost like this.
Yes.
Like this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like
Push your seat back into your hands strongly. You can scrub your heels and it'll help you to engage your seat. That's good. So right here is where the blowout happens. So put your hand right there. Yeah, put your hand right there. So if I'm going like this, do you feel what happens? Or there. Power, force.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was bad.
Yeah. That is just graceful today. Okay, so make sure you both get a chance. Go ahead and switch. Engage the seat. Yep. So drop your chin. Yeah. And then put your hand right here on her. Have her fill in there while she's doing it. And then lift your sternum up. So it's like your chest becomes a launch pad rather than blowing out. Rather than doing this, you're doing this.
Oh, I'm lifting from my sternum.
Yes. Yeah.
We do a lot. Yeah.
Keep your hands on your seat. Push your seat back, Allison. Yep. And then you push your tail down and lift your chest up. Really strong seat. Yep. Very good. So be careful because you're pushing forward. So push back. There. Now lift up. Yeah. No, it's just practice. Her hips, see, look, she's doing it right now. See, she's popping forward. There she goes. Now she's got power. Yeah. Okay, stay with your current partner, and we're going to do Natarajasana right now, which is, what's Natarajasana? What is it? Dancer pose, yes. Shiva Nataraj, dancer pose. Okay, so now decide who wants to be the first student for dancer. And I'm going to guide you through this, okay? So the teacher's going to watch, and then I'll tell the teacher to do something in a moment. But for right now, the teacher's just going to watch. So the student's going to stand in dancer with their big toes together. And teachers, you're just going to take a look. We want to get a nice setup, right? So bring your tail back. Your chest is open. Your shoulder blades are together. Your eyes are straight forward. And then you can just gently scrub your heels in to engage your glutes. Yeah. So one of you can be the student, and then so you could take a look at it. Okay. Now, bring your shoulder blades together. So externally rotate your arms. And now teachers, you can take a look. Did they pop their hips forward when they did that? So we want to open up our shoulder blades, or bring our shoulder blades together, open up the fronts of our shoulders without popping our hips forward. Now we're going to turn our right hand all the way out, and then don't move the hand, but pick up the inside of the right foot of the ankle. Take your left palm to your ribs. Draw your ribs in. So you might even close your chest for just a moment. And then with your ribs in, you're going to bring your knee back and lift your chest up. Not your chin, but your chest. So the shoulders will relax down. Teachers, watch your student. Now, the student needs to be able to bring their knee back with their chest up. So see if they can do this dance move. The knee comes back and the chest goes up. Knee comes back, chest is up. Standing knee bent a little bit will allow them to do it. Sarah, you're way ahead of us. You're way ahead of us. Come back down. Get your palm into your belly. Lift your chest up. Now, if they can bring their knee back behind their standing knee, they're ready to go into the dancer. So then they're going to lean just a little bit forward and start to kick. You're just going to come a third of the way down. Draw your ribs in and lift your chest up. Can they do that? And now start to extend your left arm forward and up. Teachers, go stand outside of their left arm. Standing knee is bent a little bit, students. Pull your right hip to your ear. Teachers, put your hand outside of their wrist, their extended wrists. Put your hand outside of their extended wrist. Students, push into the teacher's hand and pull your shoulder down away from your ear, and then lift your chest up. Don't lift your chin up. Push out and lift your chest up. And now extend that arm as far as you can and kick a little further and let the right side of your chest go back and lift your heart to lift your eyes. Good. For 3, pull your left hip to your ear. Let the right side of your chest go back. For 2, push your hand into your foot into your hand. And 1, go ahead and release. And stand in Tadasana. Nice deep inhale and exhale. Now you're going to instruct them to do the other side. Okay? Go ahead. So that bringing that knee back is really important to be able to do that and lift up without blowing out. So just this is really powerful work before you come into the pose. Can you see what's happening?
With her, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just trying to.
Oh, you're teaching her. Okay, sorry. I thought you were going into the pose. Yeah. Do the adjustment on their hand if you want. So now you put your hand there and she's going to push out and then pull your shoulder that way. There you go. Now you're going to be able to lift your arm up higher. Yep. Now you're going to be able to lift your chest up higher. Yeah, and kick back. And push your hand into your foot and your foot into your hand and let the whole left side of your chest go back. That's excellent. Now take your hand slowly away and she's going to lengthen. Stretch. That's excellent.
And then start.
Lift your heart to lift your eyes, Sarah. So it's not so much pushing down, it's going to be pushing out. There, and pull your shoulder down. Now lengthen. There you go. Excellent. So your chest can go back more. See how your whole chest, turn your chest back. There.
Oh, it is a twist.
It's a tiny little twist. In the chest, the hips are level. Yeah, and the chest goes back a little bit. You just don't want to, like if you're pulling your car, you wouldn't pull your car like this, you'd pull it like that.
So I could go up.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, teachers the students, students the teacher. All right. So I'm going to guide you. I'm going to guide you through the first side, and then you'll teach the second side. So if you're the teacher, you can pay attention to the cues I'm giving so that you can practice it when it's your turn. So student stands in Tadasana. Then you can gently scrub your heels in, engaging your legs. So you're going to externally rotate your right arm. And teacher, you're seeing if they can open the front of their shoulder, if they can turn the inside of their elbow out all the way, and then relax your shoulder down. Now, see if you can pick up the inside of your right foot or ankle. Take the left palm to your rib cage, the front of your rib cage there in the middle, and now draw that in a little bit and see if you can bring your lifted bent knee back behind your standing knee without moving anything else, keeping your chest up. If you can do that, then you're going to lean forward a third of the way. If you can't do that, just stay where you are and work on drawing in and relaxing and lifting up. If you can do that, lean forward a third of the way and then start to kick. Let the whole right side of your chest go back and kick your leg back. And then let the right side of your chest go back and push your hand out into your foot and push your foot into your hand and reach your left arm up. Teacher, come to the outside of their wrist, have them push out into your hand and pull their shoulder away from their ear. Pull the shoulder away from you. And then they're going to be able to lift their arm up a little higher and kick a little more, standing knee bent slightly, and then take your hand away, teacher, for 5. So she's pushing down. You want to push out. So push. No, you don't do it for her. You put your hand here. She's going to push out, and then pull your shoulder down. Pull your shoulder down away from your ear. There you go. Now let your chin come up. It's okay. And then kick and reach for 3. Good job.
Thank you.
2 and 1. Come all the way back up. That was beautiful. Stand in Tadasana. Okay, now you're going to teach the other side, okay? Go ahead and teach the other side. Standing knee bend just a little bit. It's going to allow her to adjust her hips even. Remember, you're not going for hyperflexibility. Okay, so you see how the knee, yes, exactly. So you can straighten your knee a little bit more. So you want to be able to, if that, this is your work then, all you're doing is working on going down and drawing in, going down and drawing in. And then you could take your hand outside of the wrist if you want to do that adjustment. Oh, okay, good. Good. So Sarah, don't turn your palm sideways. Don't have her push down. She's pushing out. So you were putting the way, let your arm come forward. So you don't have to come down that far. And relax your shoulder down. Now reach your arm up. There. Now she pushes out. So you kind of had your hand here, so it was more of a karate chop. She's pushing out, and then you draw down, and now you reach from your hip. Now stretch up, stretch up, stretch up, push into my finger. Yes, that's it. Good. Okay. Shoulder down, stretch. Yep, that's it. Yep. Beautiful. You just keep filling in. You just keep drawing the ribs in and let the left side of your chest go back. Just drawing in here, and then you'll be able to lift your chest, just like our standing back bend. Ribs in, chest up. Yep. Yes.
So it's like sucking in the ribs, basically.
Yeah. And bring your arm out a little bit more to the side. Now pull your shoulder away from me. Now lift your arm. That's it. Now your periphery is connected to your core.
Yeah, that feels so much better.
Doesn't it though? It feels great. All right, thank each other. Come back to your mats, please.
Jeff, how long did it take you to be able to see these minute details that we're all trying to see?
I don't know. I kind of saw them from the beginning because I learned Kundalini first, and then I learned Bikram, and I could tell right away when I was doing Bikram, well, this isn't right. Probably because I have a long neck, so I could feel it right away. And but it took me a while to learn how to undo that, because there's so many false cues in Ashtanga and in Bikram that actually teach false alignment. So it took a while just to feel it. But then once I could feel it, I could see it really easy. Like I can even see it in videos just as well as if people are in class. I could just see it. And it's just practice. It's just practice, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as you do it with yourself, you'll be able to see it in other people, yeah. Go ahead and have a seat, please. Do you have any questions about, did you both get a chance to do the standing back bend? Yeah. So do you have any questions about the standing back bend or Natarajasana after we did the prone back bends? Yeah.
I just want to make sure, like, for the standing back bend, do our shoulders come together too?
Yeah, except what are you doing with your hands? Do you see where your hands are?
Yeah.
There you go. Now push your seat back into your hands.
Okay.
Now you'll lift your chest up and your shoulder blades are towards each other, but you don't have to pinch them.
Okay.
And then draw your ribs in and lift your chest up. That's it. That's it. So again, the biggest obstacle, what's the biggest obstacle to doing this? Starts with an E, yep, ends with an O, G in the middle, yeah. Any other questions or observations? It does. And it takes you out of kinking your lumbar spine. So it spreads the back bend through your whole lumbar spine instead of just one hinge point that you usually hang out in. So that's another reason why it builds core strength, is because you're stretching, you're able to engage those muscles that support a full extension rather than a full kink or blowout. The ego will always try and look like it's doing something powerful, but use force to do it. And so your ego won't be able to bring you into a place of power, but it'll try and look like power. So it'll try and approximate it. And it's not the ego's fault. It's just because we weren't here. And so the ego is just taking the past and trying to do whatever worked in the past. Yeah.
Could you do a standing back bend with your arms like this?
Could you do a standing back bend with your arms like this is the question.
I
Yes.
want to see what it looks like, because it feels like you almost want to, I don't know.
So in general, this is a hard one to teach unless people know not to blow out the ribs, because when people lift up, they're going to do this right away. And then they're going to do this. And then they're going to be in their back bend. So you could do it, but you have to be able to do it with your hands on your seat first. So you can lift your chest up instead of lifting your chin up and blowing out. And you see what my wrists are doing? The wrist-hand relationship is neck-shoulder relationship. So as I integrate, you'll be able to see it in your wrists and your elbows also. A lot of times when people are blowing out in locust pose, their wrists will be like this too, until they can integrate. Okay, did that answer your question? Yeah. And you could do it like this too, but again, you just want to be aware of not blowing out or not closing up. Okay, so it's easier. It's much easier to do it like this to help people because you're dealing with, this is a really deep habit. A good 80%, 70% maybe of the people who come into your class are going to have this habit of kinking the neck, or even if it's just sliding the chin out just a little bit. Any other question?
Jeff, you said a while ago, symmetrical is for the front to back, and you said asymmetrical was.
Works right, left imbalances. Yeah. So symmetrical back bends, like your prone back bends, work front and back imbalances. Asymmetrical poses, like our dancer pose, works right, left imbalances. So you can work on, in other words, you can work on evening up your hips, your right and left hip. You can work on integrating the right and left shoulder. You can work on lifting up from the center, finding your center when you're imbalanced. Supine, you're working front back, you're working core engagement, core lengthening. So you get to work the front back imbalances in your body. Yep. All right, let's see what time it is. All right, let's take a 20-minute or a 15-minute break. So we'll come back at 3:25, okay? 3:25.